GNT show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discussion is advice. Live long and prosper.
Are friends with benefits?
Speaking of having a good time, Terry.
Dayton broke the G&T show. This is now the David Mack
Appreciation Hour.
What is it about this guy that people love him so much?
With his purple velvet cape and his crown. I thought it was a little much when he had us carry him in the studio on a throne. I am awesome! Look what I have done! Look what I have brought upon the world!
There is an urge to go nya.
I heard rumors that you might be working on something else, but we won't prod much. I was gonna say
I'm gonna pry a little.
Dare you? How dare you ask me to change it? Do you not understand the majesty of my genius? And the guy sitting next to me looked at me like he was, like I'd crapped in his hat.
Yeah, it's the professionalism that sells the show. That's right.
And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good brunch time. How are you? Welcome to the supplemental log of the G&T show. We're still recovering from our 200th episode anniversary party.
An extravaganza.
I just have one question. Where's my pants? But there she is, to my left, your right, still wearing the same clothes, but with only one set of heels. It's Terry Lynn.
I am the of Babylon.
Yeah, nobody does the walk of shame like Terry. And after doing the crawl of shame, there he is, Ceridium.
Kapla. Your pants, they're on the flagpole.
Oh, very nice. And here were the people that bailed us out last night. We're so happy to have with us. Let's flip a coin, see who I pick first. Here he is, director, writer, all-around good-looking guy with lots of talent. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. James Garwin.
And I raised the pants up the flagpole in honor of our experience last night, Nick, which will remain between us forever.
That's a man. That's all
Welcome.
I can say. He's a very tough man. And our other guest, the person who I know removed the pants. She's beautiful, she's talented, she's hilarious, and she rocks the Toss uniform like nobody else. Kipley Brown.
Hi everyone. And yes, I did remove your pants, but it was while doing an atomic wedgie on you. I don't know if you recall that.
Whoa.
But it was pretty atomic.
No, I'm sorry, Ensign Jones. I didn't care.
Oh, low blows. I deserve
Welcome.
that.
Welcome
back.
So good to be here. It's always such fun to talk to you guys.
And it was a double celebration yesterday. Not only was it our 200th episode, restraining order, finally gone.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Nick's parked outside my house right now. You driving
Give me
Eldorado?
more credit. I'm in the attic. Give me more credit.
Oh, that's what that sound was.
You thought it was a raccoon. No.
All I can say is,
boy.
I hope this isn't asbestos.
No, that's just the remains of the last person that hid in my attic.
Beautiful.
Nice.
I
Nice.
just don't know. I have a well like that in my basement.
Wow.
And so it begins, everybody.
Put the lotion on the skin.
Do the lamb still scream, Clary.
Are the frogs still croaking, Kipling?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And our listeners don't understand. This is what it's like when we're together in Vegas. All I do is
Except there's
giggle.
dancing.
I just
Also dancing.
4 days of solid giggling. I am so sore afterwards.
Well,
Oh,
Kipling
God.
is still going to play Clarice Starling in my musical version of Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
But Silence of the Frogs is what it's going to be called.
The hills are alive.
Are the frogs still croaking,
The
Clarice?
people are croaking, but the frogs aren't. Why?
See?
Dr. Lecter. Dr. Nick, what did you do?
I just have to ask, is there some kind of a scene, a show-stopping tune that has dancing flatware or, scalpel, anything along those lines?
Well, silence. It's a Silence of a Lamb, so it would be like medical tools.
It's the autopsy scene. It's the autopsy scene.
Or it's the low basket.
A bunch of dancing bottles of lotion.
It puts lotion on the dance stage.
And the little dog, an iguana.
I'm so disturbed. I'm so disturbed. Welcome back, you two.
Hi, James.
And you just know James is sitting there rolling his eyes going, I lost control again.
What? I'm sorry, I was on the other line.
He was on the other line with therapist.
He was ordering another white wine spritzer.
Okay, so I just have to say, episode 4 of Star Trek continues.
Yes.
Oh my God.
There was an episode 4?
This is the first time we've talked since then, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just
before it came out.
I cried my eyes out, you guys.
Did you really?
Me too.
I cried multiple times throughout it.
Huh?
And for a Klingon that's saying something. I cried multiple times throughout it. And for a Klingon that's saying something.
Yeah.
I did. I totally cried.
It was so beautiful. I mean, I especially, I don't want any spoilers if people haven't seen it, but towards the end.
Oh, they've had enough time.
And I knew what was coming. Like, I'd already read the script, and I still.
It was beautifully done.
You guys done a great job of getting actresses today that the resemblance to the actresses from the original series is uncanny, playing the characters of the original series.
Is that makeup that helps, like, push it over the edge, or is it, like, do you guys just find these actresses that are dead ringers?
It's really a question of finding the actresses, and that's all Vic. I mean, Vic, on a TV series, directors of individual episodes don't really have control over those things. It's always the showrunner. Right. So whenever somebody is brought into the show as a guest star, Vic auditions them and casts them. And he did a tremendous job in this episode. We also had help from Mark Altman, the producer of Free Enterprise, founder of Geek Magazine, and he used to run Cinefantastique, and he's a great guy. And he runs the Starship Smackdown every year at San Diego. Anyway, so he helped us. He referred a lot of people. He's one of the producers on Castle also, the show. And he referred us to some of the people that we used in this episode. So
wow.
Right on.
Much thanks to him.
And how
really
lucky to get people that not only look like the person, but can also act.
Exactly.
Right.
It was fabulous.
Who's terrible at acting, and it's like, thank goodness they're also really good actors.
Yeah, they were very, very good.
The actress that played, oh Christ, blanking on the name, Indian girl, Miramani. That was like, because that's one, that's such a quiet episode of the original series, and I think very underrated, because it deals with a lot of really heavy stuff. Now, of course, it's third season, so it's got its issues, but I love that episode, and I was with her when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, Sabrina Sharp. Yeah, no, it's a great episode. Actually, it's one of the best episodes of the series, I think. I mean, you know what? The third season was bad. Screw that. The third season had some of the best episodes of the original series, and it also had some of the worst, but it definitely had some of the best. Tholian Webb and
All Our Yesterdays.
Requiem, All Our Yesterdays. Come on.
Yeah, Requiem.
That is true.
I loved Requiem.
Great season. And Tiffany Brower, who played that role, a recommendation of Mark Altman. She
awesome.
was
wonderful.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah.
She was really, really wonderful. But kudos to everybody. And what I really need to say is what I appreciated the most about that is it is a story that has always in my heart been missing, not just from Kirk, but in a lot of Star Trek stories, and that is how does somebody in that position deal with the constant losses that they go through. And I just need to say thank you for at least taking on the subject and giving it a due.
Well, and you know what it reminded me of? The talk in Captain Pike had with Dr. Boyce.
Yeah. Who lives and who dies. Yeah.
And ironically, because Kipley's here, it also reminded me of that Enterprise episode that she was in.
Yes.
Because we saw Trip actually, having to deal with the loss of his sister and
subordinate.
Everyone and subordinate, and then along with the pressure of trying to save Earth, so
confronting
there's a lot of parallels.
Image of someone that Trip and Kirk feel they have wronged in some way or let down, and that person showing up and kind of saying what's going on, and then maybe a resolution, maybe not.
Yeah, it's such a great idea, and you handled it very, very well, and it was very fun. And it was nice to see Kipley, you behind Lieutenant, behind the navigation controls again. It was just fun.
Yeah, you tapped out Chekhov.
Yeah, I got to use the aspergator.
I did see that. I did notice that. I'm like, really? That's how they keep navigation?
Was 12-year-old Kipley geeking out?
Oh, yeah. And my hand is a diva now. My hand's like, I was on TV. It wants to be a hand model now. It's comfortable now that it had a close-up.
It gets its own room, its own driver.
It wants a manicure every day. Yeah.
Wants its own insurance policy.
Yeah.
Demand.
So the acclaim for this episode has been pretty big, and you guys are celebrating it in Vegas at Star Trek Las Vegas with us all, correct?
Yeah.
Yay.
Yep.
Yeah, you bet we are, yeah.
Yeah, you know it, yeah.
For during, oh my God.
Yeah, we are screening episode 4 along with a special sneak preview trailer of episode 5 at the AMC movie theater Friday night in Vegas, the AMC Town Square 18, Friday night at 11:30 p.m. And it's free admission, of course, because it's a fan film. And first 250 people in line get tickets.
Awesome.
For the folks out there?
So it's the same theater that you screened episode 3.
Yes.
Right.
And this year they have a bar.
Nice.
Yes, and they're going to have Trek-themed drinks, and so you can get there early. They are encouraging everyone to get there as early as possible because it's a smaller theater than it was last year. So only 250 people get in, and then they screen the episode, and we'll screen a teaser for episode 5, and then there will be a panel with Vic, Chris Doohan, Michelle, Kipley, and Kat Roberts, who plays our Palmer, and a couple of our guest stars and so forth, and some of our crew will be there as well. So
very, very fun. Well, we'll make sure that we put the details for this on the show notes for this, as well as we'll be talking about it again before we head to Las Vegas. So, but it'll be on our site, making sure that, and we'll also make sure that we get the link out for that back over to StarTrekContinues.com too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's really, really cool. Now, I would, getting back to kind of episode 4, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of handle this question, and I hope I'm not blindsiding you. There was some confusion when episode 4 came out with regards to specifically the YouTube release only. Do you want to touch on what happened there and how it got resolved? No?
Oh, no, I assume you're asking me. Yeah.
No, I was talking to you.
Oh, yeah, no. It was really not. It was turned into a huge thing that it wasn't. There was a takedown notice issued against the episode for copyright infringement. We called CBS immediately. We have a great relationship with them, with their legal team. We talked directly with the vice president of legal at CBS in New York, and they assured us that it was not deliberate. In fact, they didn't know how it happened. Okay. We still don't know how it happened or who actually did it. But they assured us that it was not their doing, and they contacted YouTube directly and had the episode reinstated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be. I wanted to make sure that I did ask that question because I wanted to know, it really wasn't CBS that had made any kind of a complaint, and that,
as far as we know, as far as what they've told us, it doesn't look like it was. I don't know to date if they ever got to the bottom of exactly who did it, but it certainly did not come from their main office in any way. It was either, from what they've told us, it was either some underling, it was either an automated YouTube process, or it was somebody spoofing a CBS account.
Okay.
But it was
so
certainly
it could have been
not
a mix, one or more of those things.
Yeah. They from last I talked to them, they honestly don't know.
Interesting.
Anybody else notice Kipley over there giggling as he keeps saying we don't know? I'm just saying.
Yes, I would want to sabotage something that's.
exactly.
So I actually have a Skynet, guys.
Oh, creepy.
I'm gonna do a little crossover into it.
Well, I think that, I mean, it was an unfortunate situation, and I'm glad that you guys came out of it relatively unscathed. I know that the video stayed up with Vimeo and on the website and all the other places. It was specifically just the YouTube release that had been affected, and it's been back up for several weeks now. So,
yes.
But I'm glad you were able to get through all that. What a pain in the tush.
Yeah, thank you for providing additional information, because initially when it first happened, we were covering it, but we were only getting rumors and hearsay, and it was kind of difficult to
tell the truth, Mike. We had to talk Mike off the ledge. He had a razor at his wrist.
No, I mean there was it really, honestly, guys, it is nothing like the rumor mongers made it sound. It had nothing to do with anything deliberate. It was literally either somebody trying to screw with us or an automated thing. Like I said, the vice president of CBS Legal directly contacted YouTube and said, no, these guys are in our good graces. Put it back up. And they put it back up, and that was it. Yeah. And they even checked in with us like a couple of weeks later, because it takes something like 20 business days for YouTube to reinstate a video after.
Wow. It's really
ridiculous.
Wow.
So they called them again and said, no, seriously, guys, put it back up now.
Yeah.
So they were very, very good to us. They were awesome to us, and there was none of the nonsense that you've heard on Facebook or anywhere else actually happened.
Right.
It was a simple misunderstanding, and it's been completely cleared up.
I mean, I understand how it's sort of the ultimate fear for fan fiction and for fans of fan fiction.
And fans of the fan films.
Yeah.
And it is.
That someone could theoretically say, you can't do this anymore, and it's terrifying when you think that might have happened, but CBS has been just awesome and so cool about it.
Great. That's great news. And it's nice to know, because we're fans of not just Star Trek Continues, but of many, many unofficial projects, including fan fiction, and that's what we like to cover. And us as a podcast, this is what we enjoy and we revel in, and we want to make sure that we, to be honest with you, I want to have a podcast in a year. It would be nice. So.
And speaking of episode 4 and the success, is there plans for an episode 5?
Well, it did get funded. I knew that.
Well, yes. Episode 5 is done.
Yeah. I wasn't sure I was allowed to say it. It's like, baby, it's in the can already.
Yeah. Episode 5 is done, and we will be screening a sneak preview trailer for it along with episode 4 at Vegas, and it will be out probably early fall. We're looking at.
Nice.
So it is done, and we are in prep for episode 6.
And it's a very ambitious and fun episode. I'm not allowed to say much more than that, but.
Yes, episode 5 is the first one off the ship. Most of the episode takes place off the ship. It's definitely the most ambitious episode that STC has done so far.
Now, who's directing? I don't want to assume.
Vic directed 5.
Okay, very cool. Mm-hmm. And so...
Do you know who's directing 6?
We do, but we're not...
Are you allowed to say?
No.
Okay.
Now,
fair.
Is 5 the one where you have the crossover with Caprica? Is that the one?
I think you're confusing it with Firefly.
Damn it! Wait, erase that. Don't broadcast that.
So what I'm hearing is Tricia Helfer will be there as 6. Nice.
Hey,
you're still the only one.
Kip, do you want to tell them the 6 stuff or?
Episode 6?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Episode 6. There's not much we can say except someone from Pixar is heavily involved.
Whoa.
That's pretty amazing.
That's really cool.
That gets the imagination going.
Sure does.
That's a howitzer being fired right there.
Yeah, it is. Right across the bow. Heavily involved. That's pretty darn awesome.
I like how ambiguous that is. It's a mysterious sound.
It is.
It just makes it really cool because it just goes to show how it's
the dog from Up.
It's what?
The dog from Up. He's going to be in the episode.
The dog from Up. Squirrel. That would be
they accidentally beam aboard Mike and Sully.
My God. Guys, this is serious. Come on.
It's actually the Pixar desk lamp.
Yeah. It's sitting in Kirk's quarters. That's it. That's all it is. Yeah. No.
Stop Enterprise. I'm Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger.
Okay, so now you've got us really, seriously, my imagination's running wild. It could be anybody. I adore everybody who works there.
Pixar makes your imagination run wild, Terry.
But it also means that there's that Pixar people are Trek fans.
Oh, episode 3. Episode 3 was screened by Vic and Casey Shasky, one of our co-producers, up at the Pixar studios for their executives last year. They're huge Star Trek Continues fans.
Whoa!
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's really. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
People are the best are Star Trek fans.
Oh, that's
now, are you guys like? Is anybody when stuff like this is going on, keeping like journals or video or anything for some kind of down the line, maybe Star Trek Continues documentary or something?
Well, there was a documentary shot by the Wired channel last year, behind the scenes thing that you can see called Obsessed. And it's a 5-part miniseries about the making of Star Trek Continues. There have been a couple other documentaries shot about us that you can find on YouTube or Vimeo. But honestly, guys, we're too busy to do that stuff. I mean,
I'm not. I've got a tell-all novel in the works.
Well, I can tell you what I currently make at my job and what I would accept to be the official documentarian of Star Trek Continues.
We have a great behind-the-scenes photographer, Don Houston, who shoots the behind-the-scenes video and a lot of the photos. And Kipley, actually, who is one of the greatest photographers I've ever seen. She's an amazing photographer. She shoots
and
a lot.
And she sells some of her stuff at the con.
She sells her stuff, and
she's a Renaissance woman.
She actually does a lot of our behind-the-scenes photography as well. So a lot of the photos you see on our site and on Facebook were taken by her.
Over Maplethorpe, here I come.
Woohoo!
God.
See, she jokes about it, but it's true.
Thank you. I'm blushing, you guys.
Oh, and it looks good against the gold uniform.
It does. Mustard and rouge. It's like ketchup and mustard. I look like a McDonald's.
That's the name of our. Never mind.
What? Whoa.
Run away.
You want relish with that? You want your fries on the side?
Would you like some vinegar on the fries?
I'm so hungry for a Happy Meal. Ooh, there's a special toy inside. Oh my gosh, it has to have been done. There's so much stuff there, rice for just bad.
See, the thing is that we would like to promote this show on the Star Trek Continues Facebook page, but it's a family Facebook page.
We can't do that.
So we can't do this now. Vic is going to listen to this and he's going to be like, James,
it was
what
innuendo only.
It was bad words. That's okay. We're used to that, James. But appreciate the idea of the thought.
Sound over all
the triple sound. Yeah, exactly.
It's like 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God.
It's true, but no, it's just us, and we take full responsibility for our adult rating on iTunes. We can't help it.
No, you guys corrupted me. I was as pure as even snow.
Okay, all right.
God.
Suddenly I talk like a sailor, and
I was going to say that was a little Minnesota there. It was pretty fun. Yeah.
It's Chicago.
School is a freaking snow. Oh, too funny. Well, that's actually really amazing news about episode 6. I'm very these are the questions that always get really hard. So is there anything else you can tell us about episode 6, right? And I'm probably going to get the no.
No, we really can't. I mean, it's a very ambitious episode. Like we said, a person from Pixar is heavily involved in it, and I love the script. I mean, we just sent it out to the actors about a week or two ago. Kipley just read it, and it's a fun.
It's awesome.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool.
Right on.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys haven't done anything that I have hated or disliked at all yet.
Seriously.
So I mean, just keep if the quality is anything comparable to what you've already done, it's already going to be a hit.
Right.
So
it's going to be great. I do want to tell our listeners and to remind them that, of course, both of you will be at Star Trek Las Vegas. Kipley will be. We're very excited to have Kipley make an appearance at our booth again this year. But Kipley, you're also going to be doing not just selling your autographs at our booth, but you're also going to be doing photo ops this year.
Yeah.
With Creation. Is that correct?
I know. I'm so excited. I was surprised that they wanted to do, I'm just so flattered. It's amazing. Yeah, photo ops.
That's great.
I feel like the President of the United States, you know. I'm going to start calling Congress and giving orders. I don't know what that has to really. I was trying to be funny and I failed.
No, it's all right.
In the corner. I'm gonna go.
Let me write that down on the calendar. Kipley was trying to be funny instead.
Oh, now Kipley's trying to be funny.
Wow.
Oh.
Come here, Kipley. Let me brush your hair. There you go.
Nobody puts Kipley in a corner.
Damn right.
You know,
Now, will
sometimes you really shine when you don't say anything at all.
will Emo be there as well?
Yes, you will. Yay!
Oh, yay!
Right
Good.
on.
He's
Yay.
really excited.
Very cool.
Cool.
So for our listeners, if you want to purchase, the tickets for Kipley's photo ops are currently on sale. You can buy them through Creation. You can head over to the website. It's going to sound really long, but we'll make sure the link is in the show notes. But it's creationent.com/CAL/ST_Las Vegas_guests HTML. You can go down, click on it, and then click on the link for the photo ops, and you can pre-order them, and then they send, for those who've never done this before, it's actually not that difficult. You pre-order them, they send you the ticket in the mail, and the ticket actually has a number on it, so you know when you are called up, and it's real simple. You just stand in line, and they pull you by number, and you can meet Kipley and get your picture with her, and you're even doing one with Connor Trenier. I believe that's on Thursday, although we don't have confirmation of that yet.
Yes, the guy who plays, I'm sure all your listeners know, but he was the person I did the scene with in the episode of Enterprise that I was on.
Right. The guy who plays Trip.
That guy. That one guy.
Yeah.
Well,
Dreamy guy.
Trip, but I figured everyone knew that would be.
Yes, but seriously, people should. Carrie, can people buy them at the convention too? They can
Yes,
buy photo
absolutely.
optics.
Yeah, they're in the vendors room. They always have in the corner. They always have a person who's selling the photo op tickets in the back corner. Actually, it's in the front corner. As you enter in, they're usually right off to the right hand side from the vendors room, and you can buy them pretty much up until the time the photos are taken.
Yeah.
So it's
and if you order now, you get some steak knives. Oh, you don't.
No. Oh.
But if you pay a little extra, I'll be nice to you.
That's right.
I'll be okay.
Not that nice, folks. Be good. Be good. But again, you can and then stop by and meet Kipley, and you can talk to her and get her autograph and everything. And what I like about if you're taking your photo with Kipley early enough in the con, you can get the photo, bring it back to her, and she can sign it
for free.
Free, guys.
Better.
Yep.
Wow.
That's
right
very
on.
I need to throw in some other little tiny incentives there.
Yes, and other things as well. In addition to a $2 off coupon at TribleToys.com. I have to plug that.
Yes.
Which we're happy to plug about because
I work for Tribble Toys, so I have to plug that.
But more than that, Tribble Toys, there's a lot of Tribbles out there, but these are the original Tribbles as sold by the guy who
made up the Tribbles. Yes.
These are
David Jones.
That is correct.
Right.
Except no substitution.
Right on.
Well, we love them very much, and we always have a couple of Tribbles at our table.
Yes.
And we expect to have. Trelane will be there again this year. Don't worry. The fuzzy little thing will be there.
And by the end of the weekend, take him.
I have a question for you guys. I'm going to turn the table here.
Uh-oh.
Actually,
Yes,
it's actually for Nick.
Yes, madam.
Will you be wearing the scant this year?
Yes, the scant shall be making an appearance.
That's what I needed to know. All right.
I'm scared now.
Wow.
And Terry Lynn, do women ever wear scant? I think that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Troy wore a scant, and Tasha wore a scant.
Tasha wore a scant. And what's very cute is the Trek girls who just made an appearance at, was it not Epicon? Where was it? They just went to a convention.
Yeah.
It might have been San Diego Comic-Con, right?
One of each color.
And the three of them wore the scant.
Yes.
It was very cute.
And they looked a whole lot better than me, let me just tell you that.
They don't have your gams. Surely don't.
They really don't.
Thank you. And I've got new ink to show you this year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's Kipley, isn't it?
Hey, that's part of the restraining order being lifted.
Actually, it's not, because this restraining order was just lifted yesterday. On the 4th, I have an appointment to get some more ink. I'm not saying what it's going to be.
No,
I'm not saying what it's going to be, but it may be somebody in a mirror uniform.
Oh,
And when I
Connie-
flex my bicep, she'll dance.
They're generous with the tone and abs.
When I flex, she'll dance.
Oh my God. Well, getting back to Star Trek Continues real quick, and discussing the upcoming episode 5. Are there any hints that you can give us other than we're going to get a teaser trailer at the con?
I don't think we can. I mean, like I said, it's off ship. Most of it is off ship.
Right.
There are some cool guest stars in it, and a character.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I was going to say I think it's safe to say that there's some action in it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus
Yes, there
off
is.
the ship, and it's like My Dinner with Andre.
Well, and to be fair, the last episode was very, very cerebral and
which was refreshing and great. And again, it's rare when I can get to a Star Trek episode that makes me bawl like a child, but I did. It was awesome. I cried.
You cry at freaking insurance commercials, okay? State Farm, and she thinks she's cheating.
Oh my God! He's
Wow.
a wizard. He's so cute. Oh, I love the guy Kafka.
During the Super Bowl, what was that kid that died?
Oh, yeah. That was all messed up, wasn't it?
What happened there?
Oh my
There
God,
was
the
a Super
commercial.
Bowl commercial with the kid that was like, and I was going to do this and this, but I can't because I died.
Oh.
It was
Have a nice day, everyone. Wow, so he's talking after death. That is something.
Yeah, I was like, man, this Super Bowl is dark. And there was a lot of dark
Says Jane Taylor.
Well, I mean, I don't like people competing with my talking after death status.
That's her gig. That's her thing, right?
Yeah, I'm the only one who gets to do that, even though it's been done a million times before I ever even did it. Copyright, keep it around. Now I can only be the person who speaks after death.
So, speaking.
And no seance required.
Wait, well.
Oh, what a train wreck.
And,
as always,
get some steak knives.
Speaking of Kipley and Star Trek, we have another announcement.
Yes.
Oh.
Should I? I'm so excited.
It's not.
I'm so excited for you guys.
Are you breaking news on the GNT show, Kipley?
Yes.
Tell us the story.
Yes.
Look, she's crying already. See?
It's very simple. I am going to be playing a character in season 11 of Star Trek Online.
That is awesome.
Right on.
Oh my God! No way.
That is
Yes.
awesome.
So okay,
So,
you just made the Stowe player very happy.
Well,
Awesome.
guess who needs to start playing again?
Mhm.
Yeah, you do.
See, I'll start playing again now that Kipley's there.
Who stopped?
He did.
Who did?
Nick
I
did.
did because I got very angry at the game.
And now it's time for him to forgive.
It was not an unreasonable reason.
You
why
are
I got
dead to
angry.
me. You are dead.
No, it was not an unreasonable reason why I got angry. I don't like being punished for success. I already look at that every paycheck. I don't need to.
What are you complaining about? What? The when they changed the power creep, or when they changed the reward system?
No, that when they added the new levels, because I was maxed out at 50.
Yes.
So because I didn't create a new character, I had to do all this stupid grinding.
Yeah.
Rather than be able to just play the story.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you know how long it took to level from 50 to 60?
It took like it took like a couple weeks at most.
It was hard for him.
Really?
He couldn't get past. He just did not like the patrols.
I don't like the grind. I didn't like the grind, and I was also, and Terry and Mike can attest, I was having really bad connectivity issues.
Yeah, he was.
Oh.
Well, hopefully he'll get those fixed so he can play again, because there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I was rubber banding really, really bad.
Dude, we should PvP, because you know what? Every single piece of equipment on my ship is Mark 14 Epic.
You don't understand.
Everything.
Dude.
Everything.
You don't understand.
Dude.
Admiral Satan.
We must try.
Hold on. Admiral Satan and the Gettysburg are well known.
That is
it's
true.
the USS Gettysburg, okay? You're not getting anything of her, all right? I got an all-female bridge crew that kicks ass.
You know what? If I ever got the opportunity to watch you two PvP, I would do play-by-play.
Look at him.
The play-by-play would last. The play-by-play would last 5 seconds.
Oh!
The gauntlet has been thrown. Are you going to take that, Nick?
Oh, no. It'll be on like Donkey Kong. Let me
Dude,
just say
I have a T6 pilot ship with 100% epic gear. I can blow anybody away in 5 seconds.
It sounds like a challenge. It really does.
That sounds pretty much like what I'm flying.
Well, there you go.
Oh!
Let's do it.
That's so awesome. Who knew? I mean, I never in my life did I ever think that I would really be excited about PvP and Star Trek Online, but that I have to say, with the advent of some of the new equipment and that they have given PvP a little bit of love, I hope they give it more. I might be interested in it, so that would be fun.
Right now, listening to this, Al Rivera is spitting in his chair, yelling Yahoo.
Al. Hi, Al.
Hi,
we
Al.
love you, Al. We love you, Al.
Me too. Hi, Amy.
So Kippley,
and Adrian and Jesse and all of you. We love you
and
all.
everybody, Nick and everybody.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas and Sporticus and everybody.
Zero.
I know.
Much love.
It's like an episode of
Romper
Room.
And we see Zero and Thomas. And I see Christine over in the corner writing.
Oscar
and Kate and everybody else. I know.
And you know the great thing. You know the great thing. Kipley is about to become one of us.
I can't.
One of us.
Oh,
I'm already one of you, but yes, I will be initiated into a new type of one of you.
She's going to be standing in the middle of STLV going, Mordecai!
Man, that's exactly what I'm doing. Oh, man, now
I harshed your buzz. I'm sorry.
I'm going to be standing in the middle of the game going, what's Star Trek? I'm so confused. Where am I? My Sim boyfriend. I was just having a Sim City dinner, and now I'm here.
I'm not playing again until they have a Trilaxian in game that I can play.
I don't know. What's the Sim City reference? Is that like ancient? Do people not do that anymore?
Oh,
no, they do. And they do.
Okay.
Sim City's still around.
All right, you guys are both geeks. I put something on my Facebook page the other day. For some reason, lately, this year has been the year of discussing Alien 3.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Did you read what I wrote?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't.
You don't agree? You haven't. Go ahead.
Kipley's the Alien fan, so talk to her.
Are you the Alien fan?
Oh my God.
I am. Alien is my favorite movie. I love Aliens as well, but I love Alien. I've seen it a million times. I know the dialogue. Yeah.
I feel Alien 3 is one misunderstood, two a victim of Fox and everything with the interference, but I still think in many ways it's a brilliant movie and the perfect ending to that series.
If they'd ended it there.
Well, yeah.
I agree with some of what you said, but they kind of messed up on some fundamental qualities of storytelling, in my opinion, which is you have to escalate the danger, right? So in original Alien, there's one alien, and in Aliens, there's two, and then there's the queen. And then in the third, the alien impregnates a dog, and now you have dog-sized aliens. So suddenly they're smaller and slightly less threatening.
Okay, but see, I wrote about that. I thought that was brilliant because there was nowhere to go up after the queen and that whole hive. So taking it back to one-on-one and not coming out of a human, but coming out of an animal, which made it different in appearance.
They took it laterally rather than
and added something different. And I will say that I was okay with the deaths of Newt and Hicks because the alien was responsible for taking everything. Whose side? Was that James?
Oh, no, I was just taking a drink.
Oh, it was responsible for killing her family, if you will, on the Nostromo. She may not have loved. Stop it. She may not have loved, but she cared for. And then all the Marines, and then killing her new daughter. She didn't get to see her daughter grow up because of the alien, and then it took away her kind of husband figure and daughter figure from Aliens. So now it was that much more intense because it was so much more personal. Now it was revenge.
A little bit anticlimactic the way they died. I mean, Newt, I understand because the little girl who played Newt didn't look like she did.
Right.
I went to school with her.
Did you really?
Yes. I've told you this before.
I don't listen to you.
Okay, that explains a lot. But yeah, I went to school with her.
Did you know her?
Yeah, she sat behind me in English class in high school.
Did she just scream that annoying scream out of nowhere constantly?
She bragged about being in the movie an awful lot.
So would I. Please. I
do my homework at night, mostly. They're dead. Our red dog's dead. Can I kill her now?
Well, now I understand why when we were eating dinner at STLV last year, Kipley looked at me and said, "Guess you don't like cornbread either." Guess you don't like the cornbread either.
Oh.
I do have a question.
I'm actually clapping Kipley and I can trade alien humor.
Here's one. Hey, Nick, you ever been mistaken for a man?
Have you?
You knew it. Awesome.
I have a question for Kipley.
Yes?
Any chance in a future episode of Star Trek Continues that we will see you go all Ripley?
That would be awesome.
Wouldn't it?
I would be so for it. But I don't write them, so I can't necessarily guarantee it. Not that I won't beg.
But you'd be open to it.
Every time I see anyone who's involved in writing for that.
But let's remember, Star Trek Continues is not about Kipley. It's about Vic.
She'd be open to it, though.
Oh, I would definitely be open. Yes, that would be awesome. Maybe not like the part where she, gets into her underwear randomly to get into a spacesuit,
Hold on. Let's not count anything out.
Nope.
If it was good enough for Alice Eve, it's good enough for Kipley Brown.
Yeah, I don't think people want to see that. Not yet. Still working on it, guys.
I beg to differ.
Some LPs here, lifting some weight.
Okay, for our fans listening in, write into our forums and let us know if you'd like to see Kipley getting dressed and getting into the spacesuit.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so,
Well, it'd be funny, though, it's like, yes, we want to see that, and then when I, take off the clothes, I'm wearing, like, the worst grandmother undergarment. Like, oh, no. Like, just the least sexy possible days. What? They asked for it.
The advanced panties.
Yeah, like the giant granny panties that go up to, like, just under your boobs. Like, the big pointy girdle. And oh, yeah. I know. Some people get turned on right now. I'm one of them.
Oh, there's a market.
Okay, so...
You were saying, James.
Yes. We have some viewer questions who have written in questions to Star Trek Continues for Kipley.
Okay.
So, if you're interested, we will ask them.
Yes.
Way. Truth or dare?
We don't have to. I mean, I'm saying, it's...
No, well, I mean, let me hear the question. If it's,
Okay.
If it impugns my mother in any way, no, I will not answer it.
So here's one that impugns your mother. What a gorgeous, I'm just reading. What a gorgeous Irish name. No, Kipley is. My mum's middle name was Lee, and she always said it was a name from the fairies. Care to comment on that?
Oh, I love that. Yes, I will. It is Irish English. My mom is from England, but her family was from County Clare in Ireland. And,
see, I didn't know that, so I totally made it fun of it, but it's okay.
Well, yes, it is. So, I mean, the Leigh, it's a Gaelic spelling. And actually, my parents didn't know my gender before I was born, and they liked the name Kip.
And they still don't.
Yeah, I don't either, so...
yeah.
I'm triple. I'm three different types. But they wanted to feminize Kip if I was a girl, and then that's how they did it. They did the Leigh.
Nice.
And as far as I know, there's only one other being that has my name spelled Kipleigh, and that's like I believe it's an award-winning Westie Terrier from a dog show. So there's another bitch with my name.
Yeah.
Literally. But I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know of any other people that spell it like I do. Or I don't know of many Kipleys in the first place, but there might be some Leys out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just like having a silent G in my name. That just makes me happy. And I didn't know that it was from the fairies, so that's new information for me. And
apparently it is, yeah.
I love that. So
cool.
That explains my wings, I guess.
Explains these weird growths on my back, yeah.
What?
Okay, question number 2. Why doesn't Kipley tweet?
Oh.
A lot of us have wondered that.
This is an element, this is going to get personal, of my personality that I'm kind of a perfectionist about stuff, especially when it comes to composing words properly. Like, so when it comes to writing an email or a tweet, and if I know that there are people that are going to be seeing it, I become compulsively perfect about it. So what might be like 5-10 minutes for anyone writing a tweet, for me, turns into like 2.5 hours. And it's a total compulsion. It's like I can't, I'm literally, or more, because I start to like nitpick and obsess, and it's just this horrible self-editing, and it's clearly like an OCD. I don't know. It's like an OCD thing.
I was just saying, what's the genesis of that?
Should I go with the number 4 or should I write out the word? I don't know what to do.
Well,
what is the genesis of that, though?
But when it comes to like, because I feel the onus sometimes to be funny, because I also do sketch comedy and stuff, and so like all my cast members in my show called Top Story Weekly, which there's a YouTube channel if anyone's interested, topstoryweekly.com. So I feel like I have to be quippy and funny and do the perfect amount of word, and yet I feel like so that it's picking the right words. Is that funny? Is it perfect? Will they know what I mean? And then I'm so behind on all the Twitter lingo that like I'm not even sure I'll put the right abbreviations in there or the ats, and I'm like someone's grandmother. It started off as sort of ignoring it, and it's turned into being grossly uneducated about Twitter, such that I might appear like a real douche if I start tweeting without knowing what I'm doing, and if I can get over my perfectionism. Yeah, I know it's weird. My dad's a perfectionist as well. So
this is actually very fascinating to me because the way I spit out tweets.
I wish I could be like that. I want to be like.
What is the genesis of that, though? Of that perfectionism in that? Was it a writing?
It's a great thing. It's just my person. It's like kind of like OCD. Maybe it's a form of technological OCD. I mean, when it comes to acting, people write words for me, so I know it's that's different. But when I have to actually write something myself. My standards go so high for myself, it's ridiculous that I can't meet them, and then I just get frustrated. And it's something I could probably, work through, but I get so anxious when people talk about Facebook and Twitter, because it's like, to me, it's like, I know I'm being left behind. I do know that. And I do feel like an outcast. And sometimes people are like, are you on Facebook? And I'm like, not really. They look at me like I just ate a baby in front of them. Yeah. They're like, you cannot comprehend it. And it's so hard to explain without like admitting to being slightly crazy.
It's an amazing irony. It honestly is, and I'm being totally serious here, because Kipling is a person who doesn't like, and I'm being dead serious. She doesn't understand how smart she is, I think. So it's like when I will like give her a script and she'll be like, oh, do this. I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. But she doesn't like realize that sometimes, and it's weird. I don't know.
Sometimes the only way to get to overcome a fear or to overcome a challenge is to jump headlong into it.
Yeah.
Just tweet. Just do it.
Yeah. Just
do it.
Yeah.
Just do
it. When you're watching the show,
your dreams come true.
When you're watching you're watching some kind of show, just tweet whatever you're thinking. That's what I do.
I don't think it's that interesting.
No regrets.
What I'm thinking is like interesting enough to like broadcast.
See, and here's the really weird thing. I've tweeted things that I thought were absolutely hilarious that would get like retweeted all over the place because nothing. I tweet some totally random, boring, just like wow, okay, and suddenly it's got like 75 retweets and favorites. You just never know. It's
gone around the world twice.
You just never know what's gonna connect with people.
That's true, and that's the other side of the coin, is that, when I have tweeted something or put something on Facebook, I get that dopamine rush when it's liked or retweeted that I find myself checking the phone more. Is it more? And it's like, that's the other thing. It's like, I think if I really got into it, it would be the only thing I ever did.
Yeah.
It's like all or nothing for my brain. It's weird.
That does make sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. That
because when I first started on Facebook, it started to take over my life, and I'm like, okay, I can't. I mean, it's like being an alcoholic. It's like you can't just drink now and then. And I'm sure there's probably a healthy way to approach Facebook and stuff, and for my career, I should. I'm just scared that like I'll make my family will be like having a Facebook intervention because I've stopped saying it.
You could always get a social media ghostwriter.
Well, what Kipling needs to do, she needs to convert her Facebook profile to a fan page,
yes.
And then post things that are impertinent to her career. What she's doing.
That's true. I should do that. I don't even know how to do that or what that is, but that's something I should do.
We'll give you a name of somebody who might be able to help you out there.
Yes. We know people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do know that it's bad.
Thing about taking over, absolutely. I will tell you this: not that it would ever happen to me, because I would never do this. But when you're in a meeting with the big bosses and you're in the middle of a Twitter conversation with somebody about Ant-Man. or something like that. Not that I would ever do that. I would never do that during a meeting with the general.
But the great thing about switching your profile to a page, which my publicist told me, she was like, you have to do this. And I did it, and it's just like once you do it, there's something freeing about it because you no longer feel the obligation to respond to every comment and go through your homepage feed and comment on this and comment on that. I mean, you basically just say, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm promoting my work, like it or not, whatever, and you move on. And you can completely, you can curate what you're responding to more than if you have, a personal page. And that's why I did. Everybody's I
couldn't not respond to everyone or accept every friend request because I might hurt someone's feelings.
But then you don't have to.
Right, with a fan page, it's just
with a fan page, you don't have to. Exactly. That's why my publicist said, just convert it to a fan page, get verified, and don't look back. And I was like, oh, that's great. So.
Okay, this is some good therapy I'm getting on the GNT show. Some good technotherapy. There should be a coin. We should coin a phrase for being afraid of Twitter and Facebook because of being perfectionist avoidance, technological avoidance.
There you go.
It's a syndrome.
It's a social media phobia.
No, it's called this. Here, I'm going to copy it because one of you much smarter people than me
can probably pronounce it.
Yeah. Now this is from the Uncyclopedia.
Oh God.
But
it's not an encyclopedia.
There is something called there's something called social media anxiety.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's what I have. That's exactly it. Anytime I hear about it, people talk about it, I feel guilty that I'm not in on it. I'm like, gosh, I should be doing this. Or someone everyone I know is like, oh yeah, I got your tweet, haha, and it's like this inside thing, and I'm like, I need to catch up with technology. I'm like the granny who's like, I don't like this newfangled car thing. I don't believe it's gonna last. Years later, and
That was a good question. That was a really good question. Now, are there more games?
I have to address it because I don't want.
There are more. Okay.
Uh-oh.
These are more Star Trek Continue centered.
Yay.
Okay. Ms. Brown's role on STC has been fun so far. I hope her character gets written with some further depth. We all know about the original crew. Well, her needs some catch-up. A new character who fits right in and is already loved.
Oh.
That's not really a question, but I guess it's a comment.
Aww.
It's a good comment.
Emo Phillips.
Yeah.
No, this question comes from Kevin.
Yay.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Master owes me money.
Cool.
The one you just read?
Yeah.
I thought he was a minion.
Well, the response I would have to say to that is that's up to Vic, the creative mind behind all of it. How much he wants, it's up to him how much a bigger character this character will become or not. If he wants to keep her as an auxiliary and focus on the poor cast, So I'm just happy to be involved at all. I mean, of course,
she needs a Ripley moment.
I would love to have more storylines and more depth, but I know that that's up to the judgment of Vic and what he thinks, the direction he's taking this series in, how much they, because they have some other awesome ladies in there that they don't want to ignore their character development too, because they are core cast.
Can you say, get to the chopper for me?
Get to the chopper!
Get to the chopper. See, she can do Ripley.
Okay, so here's a related question from Scott. Scott says, who is Barbara Smith? What is the story of her past? What drives her? And what are her future aspirations as a Starfleet crew member? How would she sound if she was the one speaking introspectively about herself in this interview room right now?
She'd sound like this. No.
Jiminy.
Well, I can tell you what I know about Barbara Smith's original series, because Barbara says, some people may not know this, there was a yeoman, Barbara Smith, in TOS, season 1. She was in Where No Man Has Gone Before. And I think one other one, James, my brother's keeper.
It was just that one. It was that. That's it.
And she was yeoman to Captain Kirk, and she was played by Anthea Drum, an actress and model at the time. And if people saw the Mirror episode of Star Trek Continues, you'll notice that Kirk calls me Jones when my last name is Smith. That's because in the original, Kirk calls her Jones, on 2 occasions, refers to her as Jones, and she's like, it's Smith, sir. And in the script of Where No Man Has Gone Before, Smith's character is described as, and I quote, female, pert, early 20s. So that's the background.
That's deep.
Yeah.
On Barbara Smith, and Andrea Drum didn't. I think she left the show by choice to pursue a movie career. Didn't stay long enough for them to develop the character. So in my debut on Star Trek Continues in the Mirror universe, I'm a lieutenant, and also in the main universe. So some time has passed. So clearly she's gone from yeoman to something more.
Moving on up.
I mean, I have, like, in my mind, I have what her history is like. It's not canon, or, it's not, but, like, to me, she's the type of person who was the youngest of a lot of brothers.
She likes Scrabble.
But I see her sort of falling in love with the stars at an early age, and, like, and being the youngest of a bunch of brothers, so being kind of a tomboy, but maybe told, oh, well, women don't really, go into space yet. This is maybe before, the Enterprise was launched, and her saying, well, I'm going to do it anyway I have to. And now she was a yeoman, which is basically a, glorified secretary, but now she's a lieutenant, and it's like she's living the dream. She's like, I'm not going to...
She's on the bridge crew.
Yeah.
She gets to see how the sausage is made.
She does. And she likes it.
And she likes it.
But that's sort of how I see her, is that, like, that it's something she's always wanted, and she knows there's going to be obstacles, but there's nothing else for her.
Okay, so Scott also asks, Kipley, switching back to reality, how much of your personality as an actor is infused with a character, and how do you prepare to portray the role and immerse yourself into the setting?
Well, there hasn't been a whole lot of deep, meaty, sort of emotional Smith stuff. A lot of it's been, technical terms and talking about the ship and where to fight. In 3, there was my confrontation with Captain Kirk. So some of that emotion, that sort of moment with him where being dressed down for no reason, or for doing your job, or not doing it fast enough. That's happened to me in real life, as it has to everyone. And pretty much she reacted the way I would. I mean, that was me, sort of like, just, it was in the eyes, I couldn't say anything like, screw you, man, but it was in the eyes like, this, I'm not gonna cow to this. That's me, versus being sort of more like a scolded puppy, like, yeah, you're right, I shouldn't have done that. So kind of standing up for herself in a certain way, even if it wasn't verbally. As for preparing, the thing, I have to be careful, because I want to stay true to the original Star Trek style. And the way that women interacted on the original show is probably a little bit different than we do now.
Yeah.
They were often more delicate. They had strength and intelligence as well. But I don't want to infuse my character with too much of my 21st century sensibilities of how women act. I have to remind myself that, this is the 60s era, and there was a different sort of style of interaction. And I have to remind myself, because my natural inclination is to kind of just be like I am on this show, like bawdy and loud and inappropriate, and it's like, no, you would not do that on a starship, and especially in the 60s. and women had to backseat a lot, so I have to remind myself to be true to that style.
Interesting.
If that makes any sense.
It does.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot with the character with just looks, like in the Mirror universe, trading looks with Uhura on the bridge, where you guys were talking without ever saying a word.
And I credit the director with that too. That was a
pretty genius director. Who was that?
Like, go ahead and use this with, like, hey, we aren't going to do this anymore. Something's got to be done about this Sulu.
Now, Kipley, are you a dog or a cat person?
I love them both. I'm an animal person. I have cats, though, and I grew up with...
There you go.
But I love dogs, too. But they're just maybe more responsibility than my parents could handle.
My family just got a new dog.
Really?
Yeah.
We rescued her from a very abusive situation.
Oh.
She was being tied to a tree and beaten by a family, by a teenage boy.
What's wrong with that? Isn't that what you're supposed to do with dogs?
Yeah.
Oh.
And she has mild case of mange and things like that. So we adopted her, and we're trying to get her to, she's very afraid of men, particularly older men with like a strong girth, like my father. She won't go near my dad. So it's tough. We've got her on new medicine to kill the mites for the mange and stuff, but she's very very fragile, and it's the first time we've ever adopted an abused dog. You know, we've had several dogs, but my parents have never adopted an abused dog before, so this is a new thing.
Oh,
new challenge.
A lot of patience, a lot of love, and a lot of work.
Yeah,
what kind of dog is she?
We have no idea. She looks like a mix between like maybe a boxer and a hound, like a basset hound or a pointer, some type of hound hunting dog. She's gorgeous. She's very, very cute, very sweet.
What's her name?
Her name is Indy Roo. She jumps like a kangaroo, but we wanted to name her after Indiana Jones, so we named her Indy Roo. And she's all black with white paws and a little white around her nose, and she's very, very sweet, but she's extremely scared. And so
well, it sounds like she's got a new life now, and hopefully
she does.
It'll
be a better place.
Yeah. And the more time goes by, she'll get more accustomed to it, I think. And
by the way, my cat's name is Worf. Just going to throw that out.
It's a strong, powerful name.
Yes, my cat is a Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
He was born with a huge forehead, and I'm like, that's Worf.
So, like a Chris Pine forehead, or
worse?
We're kind of Klingon-esque. You know, he's a tabby. He's an orange tabby. So when he was born, of all the kittens, because I rescued a stray cat that was pregnant, she was a nip, guys, a catnip. I took her up. She was all preggers, and and when he was born, all the other kittens were a certain size, and he was huge, and he had this big forehead, and the little like stripes looked like the Klingon markings on a forehead, and I'm like, that's the Klingon. And he also said Qapla' a lot, though.
Oh, even better.
Meow, Qapla'.
So that was a hairball.
That is Klingon.
That was really just a hairball, wasn't it?
Well, you know, a lot of Klingon language does sound like might be coughing something up.
Or Jewish holidays.
Exactly.
So, speaking of Star Trek Online...
I wish Janet was here to talk about the Jewish holidays. Oh, with the Klingons of Long Island. Kipley, James, don't think you're aware of this. Beginning noon on Halloween, we are doing 24 hours of GNT.
What?
A 24-hour straight marathon to raise funds for our servers. For our servers.
I think Kipley and I are going to be in Georgia shooting Star Trek Continues at that point. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
You're calling from there. Put everybody on. No, we are going from noon on October 1st through noon on Sunday, November 1st. And the reason doing that is because the last 3 hours of the show will be our normal Sunday show, and that's when we'll be hallucinating.
Yeah, that's when we'll be hallucinating.
Wow.
Is it going to be a spooktacular show?
It will, but you guys...
What will be scary is us.
See, that's the kind of thing that Kipley would tweet and then regret tweeting.
You guys are more than welcome
to pop in and say hi.
To join us, yes.
Yeah, back to Star Trek Online.
You guys, sorry, tell me again, it starts, your 24-hour show starts the day before Halloween?
Noon Eastern on Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we go through till November 1st.
Are you going to have scary stories?
We're going to have karaoke. We're going to have so we're going to rank scary Star Trek episodes. We're going to do the Klingons of Long Island.
I love that.
Well, Mikey's going to die with Anna, maybe.
Maybe.
But we've got to get Grandpa because he's down at the Comac Motor Lodge again. Don't know what he's doing there. He has no Anna.
Oh, it is a good day to die. I think it is.
Oh, it's always a good day to die. But you keep coming home. What's wrong with you?
I love it.
Oh, my God.
I know, James. Every day. Oh, my God. Too fun.
Who trims the fat off the pastrami? I don't understand.
That's
this gawk. It's not like your grandmother used to make. Not that I hate it, but it's not great.
Well, here's the premise, by the way. For the Klingons of Long Island, for those that don't know about the Klingons of Long Island, let me pull it up because...
While he's looking
for that. Anyway, so Star Trek Online. Okay, so there's a Star Trek Online panel in Vegas on Friday, right, Terry?
Yes.
Yes. The Star Trek Online panel. Is it on Friday? I haven't been told the.
Yes, it's Friday. It's Friday,
okay,
and then there's going to be a Meet the Devs thing.
Yeah,
right?
That's usually on in the early evening.
Yes.
It doesn't last very long, which means you can go to the Meet the Devs thing and still go to the Star Trek Continue thing.
Well, what you do is you go to the Meet the Devs, you go back to your room, you take a nap, then you come to Star Trek Continues.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds like our evening is planned.
Yeah, and this is going to be, I got to say, guys, this is going to be my last hurrah because in mid-August, I'm getting braces.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean last hurrah?
No, I mean, I'm getting braces on my freaking teeth.
Okay.
So how is this your last hurrah?
Because I once I have those, I'm holding myself up in my house and I'm not.
Oh, you are not.
You're going to become a hermit because you have braces?
Is it for your jaw?
Yeah, it's related to what happened last year. Yeah.
Aww.
So.
Was that when Kipling Spin kicked you in the...
Yes.
Well,
many times.
He made me do it. He was, back talking.
So this is like the last time I'm going to be able to really go out there and party. So.
And not for the rest of your life. Are you worried about your life?
For at least 2 years.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yep.
James, you can get the invisible.
It's like you can't have chewing gum anymore. It's not like you can't go out and have fun.
Yeah, James, I know people have braces now, and you barely notice them. They get the clear kind. My mom had braces when she was in her mid-40s.
Okay, that's fine. But you know what? When you get that kind, you can't eat or drink because it gets inside the plastic and it gives you cavities. So you are allowed.
Why do I feel like I'm in junior high right now?
Wait, listen. No crap. I know. So you are allowed 2 hours a day to pop them out and eat or drink, and then you have to brush your teeth after every single thing you drink or eat, and then pop them back in. Maximum of 2 hours a day.
That doesn't sound that bad. Well, maybe.
Actually, I'm trying to figure out how he's going to get enough calories in the day to survive.
Well, that's the point. Honestly, like everyone who has this is like you lose probably 20 pounds, at least 25
Holy
pounds.
moly.
Yeah.
You don't weigh enough to lose 20 pounds.
I was going to say it, but I thought that would sound weird.
Is that just the clear kind, James, or is that?
It's a clear plastic thing. They mold to your teeth. They pop it on, and then like you're able to take it off for 2 hours a day max, and then put it in. Brush your teeth. I drink a soda. I drink a vodka. I drink a coffee. Anything. You have to brush your teeth and then pop the braces back on, and then it's a huge pain. But if I don't do it, I'm gonna lose my gums. So I have to do it. Yeah. My mouth is all messed up.
You know what? That I can understand.
Let's cheer them up. Here's the Klingons of Long Island. The first episode is titled "An Idiot Says Gawk."
Oh no.
Okay, here's the opening narration. Yes, friends and warriors, it's time for the Klingons of Long Island. Today's story, An Idiot Says Gawk. Centuries in the future, a Klingon scout ship was ambushed by an unknown race. During the fight, the little ship was pulled into a temporal distortion and flung across space and time, emerging above 1980's Earth. For a year, the crew circled the Earth. Their only communication was the ability to receive a radio station from the Rabbi Izzy Slapowitz University All-Hebrew Ha-Ha Hour. Realizing their ship was losing power and they would have to settle on the planet below, the crew studied the radio broadcast and became fluent in what they believed to be the everyday habits of Earthers of the past. The crew set the auto-destruct and beamed to the Earth, settling in the town of Comac, Long Island. They adopted new names to assimilate, but they are still the Klingons of Long Island.
Yeah, that's us.
Now, I have to ask you, what generation of Klingons are these? Are they the little forehead ones or the giant forehead ones?
They're from the future, so they're from the TNG era.
They're the giant forehead.
They're not gonna mix in well.
Hold on. If the Coneheads,
big hair and bangs.
If the Coneheads could mix in, please, they're Klingons. With the dreads, everybody's gonna think they're Jamaican.
Big hair and.
It's the 80s.
And if they're really, Orthodox, they don't say they wear the scripture box on their head. I don't know. I know that's not the right name.
The scripture box?
Yes, the
scripture box.
Well, I'm not going to manipulate myself anymore.
You're mixing it with Latvian Orthodox, George Costanza.
Okay, I probably just okay. Never mind. I thought that Taliesin to fill in and the very, very orthodox.
Well, but they do have the big hats, like the horn hats.
Yeah.
So. Well, Terry, that's how they look.
I'm just laughing because the visual on it is just too awesome.
Oh, but like I walk around with a big hat and the women.
I'm just thinking of like the first episode that we're gonna have where she meets the medium of Long Island before she made it big.
Oh God.
All I'm gonna tell you is Arthur Murray Dance Studio does play a part in this episode as I'm writing it.
Yeah, that's us. So when you guys are ready to join us during the 24 hours of GNT, be prepared. I'm just saying.
And if you join us at the right time, we're absolutely loopy.
Yeah.
All right. So 10 minutes ago we started to say about Star Trek Online. Did we have something?
No, I was just talking about how the panel.
The panel. Okay.
All that stuff. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, good.
Now, Kipley, I saw your wonderful husband on at midnight. Will he be back on again? Do you know?
Yes, he will. We don't know when yet, because they gotta allow some time to pass.
Right.
He says hello, by the way.
Oh, hello.
Tell him I laughed my Romulan ass off on at midnight.
He's can he say hello on the air to you?
Of course.
Please.
This is Terry and Nick and Mike and James from GNT.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you guys?
We're great. We miss you.
We were just talking about at midnight.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. I was on that show, you know.
They know that.
I wish I'd been forewarned.
I like to ambush.
I was ambushed.
Those Irish.
I think I'm going to try to get him to wear a scant this year.
I am.
Yes.
That's a man's dress in Star Trek.
Oh, is that from this? Is that from this? The first season of
Next Gen?
Next Gen?
Yes.
You guys, I turned him into a Star Trek fan. That was me that he knows that.
Oh,
That's
we're
awesome.
so proud.
Yeah, she taught me to avoid the first season. That's
Oh God.
the best thing anyone can ever teach a loved one.
You know, I got to give the first season some love. I'm sorry. Conspiracy is a great episode.
Goodbye. He's.
Yeah, I can't take this nonsense. You've crossed the line.
Trombone bastard.
Thank you,
My
Emo.
trombone class.
Thank you so much.
Kiss.
Skin of Evil, good episode. Conspiracy, good episode.
That's why it's
episode
good.
that Tashiar died.
Yes.
Great, now there's no reason to see it.
Wait, why is he still here?
Can't see spoiler alert
Okay, James, you say those two episodes, I say Code of Honor and The Naked Now. Touche.
Code of Honor's great. They actually subtitled the Klingons.
Naked Now, I'm totally disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I know as a dude you probably like that episode.
No, it's not that. It's
horrific.
Oh, I think it was silly. I mean, silly, but not in a good way. It was
In Wesley with the drunk engineer, I peed on my television set.
Oh, I mean, there was stupid stuff in it. Obviously, there was stupid stuff, but come on, it was 1987.
After Fear, it did not set a good, dignified sort of standard. Not that it has to be dignified. I like funny episodes, but that one was kind of too cheesy and silly. And let's have the android have sex and blah, and even androids can get drunk and blah blah. You know, and it was like kind of violated some of like the basic setups.
James, the last outpost, really? Those are the big bad, the Ferengi?
Well, the last outpost was great because it established the Takans. I like that. That was
Justice.
Oh, thank you for that. I forgot about the Takan.
The Takan.
I'm in Starfleet. We don't lie.
Terry, did you know that in Deep Space Nine, when they did the Iconian episode, the art department put Takan logos on everything because they thought it was the Takan, and at the very last minute, somebody caught it and said, "Oh my God, no, it's the Iconians." And
they're the demons of air and darkness. You
Yep.
Iconians.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, see what we learn when we have you guys on? That's awesome.
James,
wrong.
Angel 1.
That was
I'm
terrible.
sorry.
Thank you.
Dude, there was a lot of awful stuff.
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm not saying there wasn't.
But you're mixing up Code of Honor with Heart of Glory. Code of Honor's the incredibly racist, misogynistic one.
The one with the planet of African American.
Oh, okay, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's
okay.
the one.
All right. Oh, yeah.
It's the only episode. Who is it, Terry? The only episode he ever sees?
Garrett claims that it's the only episode he's ever seen.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Heart of Glory is the one with
in the ring.
Yeah, that one was different. Yeah.
Can I say one thing about Angel 1? It was so cheesy with, like, scantily clad people, chipperly jogging everywhere.
Yes.
But the actual concept...
It was great.
Of breaking a law, as insignificant as it seems to us on another planet. I like that quality.
That was Justice. Angel 1's the one where Riker shows his man boob.
Dominant Women is Angel 1, sorry.
Yeah, Dominant Women is Angel 1.
Big boobs mixed up.
Yeah.
It's okay. Angel 1 was the reverse.
Boobs are boobs.
Look, you gotta give shows a
you kind of have to give them a. Yeah. They were trying too hard. They found their way.
You know what? I have been rewatching all the Star Trek series. Season 4 of Enterprise is one of the greatest seasons of all time.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It is amazing.
It's so good.
It is amazing. Like I didn't
so
like 13 years ago when I watched this, I was like a kid. I didn't care, but I'm like, oh my god, this is great. This is brilliant.
Really
and
good.
the TOS references and stuff. Yeah. And I gotta say, Jolene Blalock is amazingly good actor. She's very, very subtle and very nobody since Nimoy has been able to pull off that whole Vulcan thing.
Terry,
no insult to anybody else, but that whole Vulcan who's conflicted with her emotions.
Yes. Oh my god,
Terry, he's saying what we said 100 episodes ago.
God, she is so good in that.
Well, now you know why. Enterprise is, no lie, my second favorite show.
It's
TNG first and then Enterprise.
I have become a huge Enterprise fan.
Yeah.
Rewatching this.
There's shout-outs to the animated series in there as well.
A few.
Kind of. Not
when they go to when they go to Vulcan, the view of that city. Don't do whatever me. Oh my god!
I slip him a 5 under the table.
Dude, come on, that's whatever. Yes, there's a shout out to the animated series. That doesn't make the animated series canon. Come on.
Totally does.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. There's a 50-foot Spock wandering the galaxy. Sure.
Really? Is that any different than a giant space amoeba?
Yes.
No.
It's very different.
No.
You guys, 50-foot Spock is actually what Scientologists worship. They
And the G.G. Joe just lost half their views. Okay.
No, we just gained.
I'm kidding. But no, seriously, Enterprise is a great show, man. I forgot how good it was.
Especially season 3, one episode.
It was.
Really good. I don't know why.
Honestly, it was. I mean, that
episode called The Forgotten, I believe. I don't know why I like that one, but I do.
Now, Kipley.
It really is, though. I mean, honestly, Kipley's episode is phenomenal. All those episodes are so good.
So, you guys know that Seth MacFarlane was in that episode?
Yes.
Of course you did.
Enterprise.
Thank you for reminding me.
Was it season 3 or 4 where they had the Memento-like episode? I love that episode where Archer wakes up and it's in the future.
3.
Okay, I love that episode.
Yeah.
3 and 4, they figured it out.
Yeah,
I think.
they did.
And they really started, following, and following their own path. And I think they were doing great.
Pardon my language, but once again, the Romulan fans got because season 5 was going to be the Romulan War. But no, once again, Romulan fans are bent over and taking it up the old.
Again, Star Trek Continues is a family show.
There'll be tribbles. Oh God, there's going to be tribbles.
Is that better?
Like mostly.
Now, Kipley, is it true that in episode 5, Star Trek Continues, that you did your own stunt holding onto the side of the shuttlecraft as it's taking off, and you're hanging off the side of it?
Yes, I did, and it was really wonderful that they got the actual original shuttlecraft that's to fly.
How many times did you have to film that? Because that looks scary.
Yeah, get to the shuttlecraft.
Get to the shuttlecraft.
Come with me if you want to live. Yeah, I like to do all my own stunts. I do my own beaming as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's talent.
That is talent. Oh my God, you guys! I hate to be the spoiler and the one who puts the.
We've been talking for like 2 hours.
I love that. We could totally talk like this for another 2
my
hours
gosh,
or so.
it's been 2 hours.
I know.
This is going to be Vegas this year. This is this conversation. Yeah.
Well,
awesome.
Let me just say this, and Terry and Mike will.
And we're going to be setting up times for PvP competitions.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Terry and Mike will testify to this. When I have really bad anxiety, depression issues from my PTSD, I will ask them, can we get Kipley and James on? Because you guys totally
Make
rock.
us laugh. You do. Totally rock.
And there was the last time you guys came on was because I was in a really funky place, and I knew that you guys would lift me out of it.
Aww.
That's my love that I have for you.
Well, thank you, Nick.
I'm just scared
Including you, James.
I'm going to give you a new form of PTSD.
Yeah, and by the way, we only have 3 chairs in the booth, so you're going to have to sit on my lap this year, Kipley.
Oh,
Only if you're wearing the scan.
Of course.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, too funny.
Well, thank you, Nick.
Okay,
and seriously, thank you for your service, and thank you very much.
You guys are awesome.
Absolutely.
We have so much fun, and it is our definite pleasure, and we can't wait to see you again.
And I'm so grateful to have you guys having me at your table. I'm so looking forward to it. It's the best time.
We have such a...
I will be in Vegas this year, too.
Yes, Michael.
Yay, Michael.
I will get to
meet you guys in person. Yes. So excited.
So, once
scary,
again...
It's a big teddy bear.
Once again, Star Trek Continues, Episode 4 is currently live, so you can watch it from StarTrekContinues.com, plus the other 3 beforehand. Star Trek Continues Episode 5 will be leaked. I don't know why I say leaked as much as there is a teaser trailer.
It's a teaser. Yeah, it's not the whole thing.
Teaser trailer that will be shown during the presentation of Episode 4 at the AMC, I think it's Town Square Theaters in Las Vegas, which is really just down the road, you guys, down the main strip. It's right across it's essentially across the street from the airport. It's real easy to get to from the Rio. That'll be Friday night at 11 after the Star Trek Online stuff. Congratulations. I'm very excited that Kipley is going to be voicing a character in Star Trek Online.
That's
I'm
awesome.
so excited.
And I would like to invite both of you. It'll have to be on Saturday because Friday's the screening. Saturday, Adrian and I will be performing at karaoke.
Oh.
Whenever karaoke goes, so I haven't seen the schedule yet. I know.
Singing a Queen song.
Oh my God.
Oh, very cool.
If you need a backup dancer, that doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're doing Under Pressure.
Oh yes.
Ooh.
She's doing the Freddie Mercury. I'm doing the Bowie.
Kipley and I do a pretty badass Sister Christian on at karaoke. So,
okay, James,
we
as
can...
a director, as a director, I have a question for you. No. Boogie Nights, the Albert Molina scene.
Yes.
With that song.
Oh, yeah.
Is that not one of the most intense?
It is. It's great. It's great. Yeah. No, I love it.
I was just telling somebody about that scene because they had never seen the movie, and I was like, you can't even begin to describe how intense that scene is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Terry's already scared.
No, I'm sitting here going, okay, well, I've seen it. It was.
Oh, you
know
actually
me.
saw it?
It's a movie I will not see again, so it's
Oh, my
okay.
God.
It's not the greatest film, but that scene is pretty cool.
I don't remember that scene. I'm gonna have to watch it again.
Yeah.
With the little boy with the
fireworks.
The firecrackers. Where they go to rob the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Albert Molina.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, and Tom Jane. And who doesn't like Tom Jane?
Raise your hand.
Nope.
Nobody.
Okay.
Right on.
I'm trying.
Well,
bro.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you so much
Thank
for
you,
joining
guys.
us. It's always a pleasure.
And thank the fans of Star Trek Continues for sending in the questions, and thank you, James, for bringing them with you.
I hope I
Appreciate that.
answered them with some sort of satisfaction and didn't babble too much. Sorry.
That's very cool. And again, you can meet Kipley and get your photo taken at the Star Trek Las Vegas convention, which starts on August 4th.
And remember, the first 10 people to approach are a free Buck Mackay rookie card, people. Buck Mackay rookie card.
And we will also be heading and referring everybody over to the Tribble toys because we love them.
Yes.
So thanks again, you guys. Can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks.
See y'all in Vegas.
Nick.
He heard himself.
Thank you both so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. And we love you guys. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. For Terry Lynn.
Live long and prosper.
For Ceridian.
Kapla.
For James and Kipley.
I thought G&T was gin and tonic, and there's no booze here.
I failed.
That was not a great
For Kevin saying
that's a Twitter right there. That's a tweet.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't tweet. Right there, guys.
No, it's good.
You should tweet that.
You know what? Okay, here's my outline. Game over, man! Keeping up with current events, we just got our asses kicked!
Hey, Hudson, this little girl survived on her own.
Why'd you put her in charge?
Joe Lontrue.
Music for the G&T show is provided by Warp 11, Andrew Allen, Grethor, and 5 Year Mission. This has been a Busy Little Beaver production.
Kinda ugly.